Hey, welcome to the Dr. Crip Show. I'm your host, Dr. Crip. Today's show is I'm answering a commenter, Heaven Honey, 2617, Heaven Honey 2617. She asked me a question. She like, what books do I like, movies and stuff like that. One of my favorite books it's called a book called Black Girl Lost, and it's by author Donald Goins. Now, if you're familiar with Donald Goins, he was a author that he was, in the streets and stuff like that in the East Coast, and a lot of his books is about the East Coast. But he wrote one book. He got about 13 books or something like that he wrote. But out of the 13 books, the one book that he wrote about Los Angeles is called Black Girl Lost. Man, I love that book. Of course, I found about it, the homies in jail, and I read it on the street, but, the homies in jail is the ones who told me about it, because, when you're in jail, you got to read everything. So I read both the book on the streets and in jail. So it's been one of my favorite books for a long time. But I got a story about that when I was in my sickness, when I was in my office on Western. I was sitting there, I was on the computer, I was doing something, and because I always had that book hanging around because I read it. I done read the book about 25, 30 times, so I just seen it and I was like, I ought to make a movie about you. I'm talking to the book. I said, I ought to make a movie about you. And, once our brain start going, it just do the research. So I started researching. And Holloway House, I've been knowing Holloway House had the rights to his life, story rights to his books, all the rights to his books. So I researched, and this is a good lesson, like, don't never give up. Keep going, you know what I'm saying? Don't stop. And so I called Holloway House. I got the number, called Holloway House, and when the secretary, now this could happen to anybody, so you gotta be prepared when something happened, because you don't know when God is knocking and opening the door, and he opened the door on this one. So, but I didn't take full advantage of it, because I'm in my sickness and I'm just like, oh well, one thing, you gotta stay firm about stuff. You gotta know how to move on opportunities. You can't let any opportunities die. You got to know how to connect with people. You got to know how to do stuff. That's what I learned now. When I look back on it, I'm like, that's an opportunity wasted. It could have blew me up a long time ago where I wouldn't have never got shot 6 times to try to do something now. But so I researched Holloway House. I called to make my pitch, So, I already know how to sound professional on the phone. It's just, some people negativity when they see you, taps, all kind of stuff, all on your face, whatever, So I called and I said, hello, how you doing? The lady, the secretary answered the phone and like, hello, how you doing? My name is such and such, and I'd like to talk to your, management, financial, whatever, Oh, so she's like, oh, okay. She say, well, he's not here right now, and I could take a message, and I could pass the message on to him. Like, okay, well, I'm calling about one of you guys' books about Donald Goins. I want to try to get you guys to see if you would like to try to turn. This is before Ice-T and all them start doing it. See, Ice-T and Ja Rule and DMX. They start doing his movies. Those is Donald Goin movies. And this is before they even did those movies, is when I called. So probably a year or two or a few years before. But I think they movies came out in early 2000. And I called in like 2000, 2001. This is what I was on. So I'm like, yeah, so, you know, I want to see if you guys want to think about investing in, you know, turning one of the books into a movie, this and that. So the secretary lady, you can tell she black, but she said, oh, okay. She said, so let me ask you a question. What book did you have in mind? And I said, well, I'm from Los Angeles, so Black Girl Lost would be the book that I would be trying to, you know, turn into the film. And she said, okay, I like that. She said, let me ask you another question. She said, where you from? And I said, huh? She said, this is a real question. She said, where you from? I said, I was born in California, you know. She was like, oh, okay. Woo-woo. She said, but where you from? And I was like, where I'm from? I said, well, I'm from Los Angeles, because I'm not thinking gang banging has not even entered my mind of what this lady is saying, because I'm calling you about a book. This is a company. And I'm like, I'm nowhere thinking like y'all on some gang banging bullshit. And she like, you know, so I'm like, yeah, I'm from Los Angeles, you know, what is it? She said, okay, well, she said, no, she said, where you from? And I said, I paused and I was like, where I'm from? She said, yeah, where you from? I was like, I'm from Jesse Owens Park. She said, oh. She said, you from neighborhood? I was like, no, I am from neighborhood, but I'm from 9-0. She said, oh, okay. She said, yeah. She said, I know about the neighborhoods, the 111s and all that stuff over there in the hundreds. I said, yeah. I said, the park is the rolling 90s. She said, I heard of that. I heard of that. So I'm like, oh, okay. So she now she's getting into it. So she says, so look, how do you want to do the movie? Like, I said, I want to go straight out the book. I'm not trying to change no characters. I'm not trying to do nothing. I'm trying to come straight out the book. She said, oh my God. She said, you're not going to believe this. They had a guy that came in here about 6 months ago, before I called. This is 6 months before I called. About 3 months, 3 to 4, 6 months before I called. This guy they was dealing with for the past year. You know, when I called, right when I called, the guy had already did the movie and everything, you know, and they was looking at it, and she like, it's been about 3 months or something like that. So I was like, oh, okay, so how did the movie come out and all this and that? She said, it was horrible. He tried to do, I can't think of the Donald Goins book where they go to the swamp where they kidnap his sister or something, but I know the dude got a bald head. I think the character either had a bald head or low cut fade. He changed all the characters. He changed the storyline. He changed everything. Now Holloway House put their money up for that. So when he showed them the final project, you know, boom, y'all can't argue about it or whatever, because it was their first time ever trying to do one of the books into a movie, and they was trying to do it themselves. So this is what they got back. And she said, I went to go see the premiere and I was disgusted by it. I said, what? She said, yeah, he changed all the characters, woo, this and that. And I was like, what? I was like, nah, listen. I said, I'm from jail. I said, listen. I said, can I be frank with you? She said, yeah. I said, listen, I'm from West Side Rolling 90s. I said, you can check me out. My name is Hister Nut. I'm a G from 9-0. You know what I'm saying? Boo. She was like, yeah. She was like, you the person we should have been dealing with. And I was like, wow. So I said, so what's going on with the movie? She said, you know what? I really don't know. But her boss, the guy who was over it, you know, he was like, he was faced with a dilemma, I think, you know, because the movie wasn't doing it. Didn't pass their premiere. It was the premiere to show them the people with the employees and all this other stuff, you know. And she said that was just a horrible experience. The way that man, and he was a black dude from Hollywood. She said he was from the East Coast. I ain't gonna say he was from over here, but he didn't know nothing about, you know. He just wanted to do the Donald book, and they trusted him because he had the look, he had the talk, he had everything, and he just totally flopped it. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe that. But what I should have done, and because she was like, listen, you sound like you know what you're doing, you know, we'll do this and that. I'm like, yeah, you know. I'm not, I said, I want to direct it, but I'm going to get another director. I would just be his assistant and, you know, make sure that it's shot right and all that other stuff. She was like, yeah. She was like, he need to hear all that. So she said, look, I'm going to pass all this information to him and tell him, you know, I'm going to put a star by your name, all that stuff. So, boom. So the guy called me back, like either later on that day or the next day or something. And he said, yeah, man, you know, the secretary told me, you know, I was like, yeah. So I was like, man, so I said, so what do you think? You know, he said, man, listen, we're not investing any more money into projects. But if you got the money and want to do one of the projects, we could work something out, you know what I'm saying? That's what we're working on right now, because that guy messed everything up. So we have to look at everything totally different now. So we're not gonna do anything else ourselves. You have to come if the deal is right with us, and then we'll do the deal. Then we could do something. And I was like, okay. He was like, but I'm sorry about that. He said, man, maybe if you would have called me, you know, 6 months ago before we dealt with this guy, you know, we probably could have dealt with you. Okay, boom, hung up the phone. Now that was it. That's all I done. But you know what? I wasn't supposed to let that in. I was supposed to befriend them people. I was supposed to befriend that secretary lady. I was supposed to befriend that guy right there, and just to keep him, you know, communicating with and all that other stuff. But I fumbled the football on that, the same way you fumble the football when you out doing goofy stuff and you in your sickness. You fumbling the football. You feel me? I should have stayed in contact with those people, because I had a good project. You know, Black Girl Lost, man. If you ain't never read that book, I suggest you read it. For real. And it's a bomb book. And I was going to turn that book into a movie. You know, with the right cast, with the right people, everything. You know, I was going to take it straight to my folks. So, you know, you can't, when stuff gets, a door closes like that, you got to know how to make it open back up. You got to know how to, you know, keep pushing, you know. But yeah, I just had that on my mind. So this is the Dr. Crip Show. Thank you for tuning in.